Yeah, we actually had the lunch meeting in here. I think
Yeah, I think
somebody's going to come whisk it away later, but if you want to snag a cookie.
the cookies are
You know,
so
I may.
good.
Really?
Yeah,
I may
dude.
snag
There's
another
3
one.
left.
I had one at lunch.
I had 2. It was delicious.
I never knew this room existed.
Yeah.
We keep these things secret
Yeah,
until
that's
your,
sure.
you know, last
About to
semester.
leave. Yeah.
Thanks.
Smart. Is that Zuba's?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Wow.
they have cookies.
Oh, they're so
I
good.
only
Like,
have their strawberry.
yeah, the strawberry's good, but that cookie,
Good to know.
just,
Good thing
you know,
I came today.
that's right.
There was a reason to come.
All right, well,
Just that one reason.
I'm not sure if anyone else is going to join us, but we're glad the crowd could be here to see Car Chain.
People who really mattered.
That's right. We're here to support. So you can take it away, 20, 25 minutes. Use what you need.
Okay, so welcome guys. Today we're going to be talking about Car Chain, our capstone. First, we're just going to go over the idea, just in case you're not familiar. I'm sure you guys are, because you guys have seen this over the past year. First, always start with a question. Do you guys love the process of buying and selling a used car?
No.
Personally?
I personally hate it.
He hates it. Seems general consensus from the audience that people don't enjoy that
At least
process.
50% of us here.
Oh, I was shaking my head. I do not like it.
Majority. So we built out this platform to address that pain point. Going over really quick these car market inefficiencies. Sellers are incentivized to misreport information such as accidents, repairs, in order to earn more money for their car. We found this in our research last semester. We've also seen that in our research and across the web that there's really poor user design across the industry online. Our solution to address this problem is think KSL, but beautiful and using the blockchain. It's a beautifully designed user-focused web application that serves as a platform for the peer-to-peer used car market. It's built out using a robust online blockchain infrastructure, and that's what we're going to be doing. Today though, what we want to talk about is kind of the technical planning and what the kind of semester looked like for us, and I'll kick it away to Chris to talk about some decisions that we made.
Yeah, perfect. So I was in charge mostly of the front end, but just as a roadmap, we're going to talk about a couple of decisions we made, including using existing UI frameworks versus building our own from scratch, and then the same thing with the blockchain implementation, using existing implementation versus building it from scratch, and then also our backend code decisions. So Nate and I both have experience using React, so that was a pretty quick decision to use React for our front end, and that's been great. It saved us a lot of time, I think, having to learn that aspect of it. We both learned a lot of other stuff, so it was nice to have that shared foundation to build on. I looked at a lot of different UI frameworks, including Material UI and then some React specific frameworks, and ultimately I decided to build our own from scratch just as a learning exercise. I really enjoyed that, so I figure this is as good a time as any to do that, because once again, the work field or the workforce, and you don't have that liberty to do that. So. Yeah, with React we implemented Redux for state management throughout the semester, and we'll talk more about how that helped us to integrate with Firebase when Nathan talks about the back end, which is right now.
Alright, so that was a really lovely story, really quick, really easy. And here comes the pain for us on the development side of things with the back end. So as you can see, this one was much trickier figuring out than the front end. There's so many options, it's hard to narrow down the best solution for what we were doing. So we're going to go over the process that we did. We initially figured that it would be best to use Node.js. I had experience in a computer science class, web development class, where I paired React and Node.js and worked fine. For some reason though, this time I ran into a lot of unforeseen complications when integrating with Node. And a lot of this was due to lack of professional experience with Node.js. I've only done it in a class for a project. I've never actually worked with the framework in an actual job. So
what did you run into there?
Usually it was running into problems with the threading, taking over the main thread, like we'd be submitting too much data and it wouldn't
Wouldn't process.
Wouldn't process, yeah.
Huh.
It was weird. So we decided not to go with Node. On top of that, our issues with Node.js were further complicated by our attempt to integrate with Kubernetes. This will allow us to automate deployment of Dockerized containers to our servers. So basically, you'd have a bunch of Node containers running in Docker, and Kubernetes will help process all those and take care of those. But given our frustration with Node that was growing, we ended up scrapping our efforts with Kubernetes up to that point. It was a great learning experience working with Kubernetes, but it was a waste of time in terms of actually accomplishing work on the project. So that was fun. That was like a good amount of time wasted, but we had a breakthrough. We took a step back and we really tried to understand what we wanted and needed for a back-end service. We knew that we were building an MVP. We were building a fully fledged product, and we were building an MVP with the purpose of validating the potential business idea. So the question we asked ourselves, do we really need to maintain our own servers, maintain our own scalable servers, like super crazy system from the get-go with this product? And what are some other options that we can try? And that's where we found into serverless options. The two main options that we found were Amazon Lambda and Firebase. And we decided to go with Firebase. It's a platform as a service that provides easily implemented solutions such as authentication, serverless functions, hosting, and more. And we really felt that was a perfect solution for our backend needs for our MVP, rather than trying to build some like crazy dreadnought system for no customers. So, okay, that was a little bit rough, but we finally made it. This was super recent, actually. It was pretty brutal. It was like a week and a half ago. We scrapped our Node.js REST API and just started rebuilding. We rebuilt our authentication API, but we're still working on the buying and selling, but we should have that done by semester end. So that was a much longer and more tedious story than choosing the front end.
Now, this is just for your traditional business objects that you're persisting in, but your blockchain is going to be a separate service, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So going on to the blockchain decision process. So once again, we haven't shown you guys anything yet, so it's kind of hard to picture maybe, but this is card chain. This is meant to be a platform where you buy and sell used cars powered by the blockchain. So we needed to create a blockchain that would be powering that service. The first question was whether to build a custom blockchain or use an existing platform such as IOTA. Given the experimental academic nature of the project, decided to build a custom one because I felt like it would be really the best way to really learn what a blockchain is by actually writing out code. And then with that, what the next question would be what language to build it in. I did some research and found some common languages. Python and C++ seemed the most likely to me to be the ones I could do since I have a computer science minor, so I have experience with C++. I also have professional experience with Python. I decided to go easy on myself and did it in Python. C++ is a lower level language, and also I actually have professional experience with Python over at my educator. And Python's a higher level language, so it's easier to implement. So I actually built out a blockchain in Python. This is just a little snapshot of the initial class built out, and there's many more functions that help actually run that. Unforeseen challenges. I did not expect this. I didn't really know. I knew some about blockchain, but I didn't know that much. I found out very quickly as you go in the rabbit hole. Building out a blockchain to store and handle assets is very different than one that just handles transactions such as cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. And with that unforeseen challenge, we decided to implement that test blockchain with a separate proof of concept we already created instead of right away with the MVP. Basically, the idea here that we'll use this platform to determine the most optimal way to handle the assets for the blockchain, and then once that validation is done, and to do that we need to talk to more people and do more research, and once that's done, then we will implement the found solution into the main MVP. So that was a lot of talking, big story about the technical side of things, which is this semester. Now we're gonna jump into the demo of the actual thing. I know this is probably a little more exciting for you guys. So I'm gonna give it to Chris to look at the MVP that we created.
Perfect. So, go. So just really quick to go over sort of the UI system that I decided to implement. So that includes the colors. Oh, this is backwards. I'm scrolling. Okay. There's blue and pink colors, the fonts, I sort of developed some components for the buttons and for the different inputs and such. And the idea is that if you guys have used the KSL classifiers, they don't look modern. They look like they were built 20 years ago, which they were. So just to demonstrate, we did implement the authentication API. So if we go here and just add a test user. Okay. And again, because we just finished really that backend part, then that's the only part we actually built out connected with the API. So the rest of it's just hard coded. But ideally, you come here to access your profile information, and then if you're an admin, you have access to the different users and their information. The two biggest parts here for the users are buying and then selling. So again, just some you enter the information you're looking for. I'm looking for a 2017 test, let's say Civic, but it doesn't matter what I type in here because it's all hard coded. And you get cars that you can buy. And then the selling side of it, it's just a basic kind of questionnaire type flow. So I have a Ford, it's hard coded for Toyota. So let's do that, Toyota Camry. And then you just fill out information for your car. And yeah, so that's basically what we have for the main MVP demo. And now let's go back to the right here. Perfect.
All right, so real quick, just going back to the main demo. We did actually have REST services built out on Node that we scrapped, just given the headaches that we have with that service. But we are planning to have that functionality in by the end of the semester, built out in Firebase. Just want to make a note of that. Now we're going to look at the blockchain demo. This is basically the proof of concept I actually made last semester. I've integrated it with the new blockchain I created in Python as a means to have a validated learning process. So look at that real quick. So some of you might have already seen this, but this is actually now using the Python blockchain I created. We have some example blocks loaded, hard-coded in, but then if we make a new change, let's say we want to give this car, it's currently owned by Chris Pratt, give it over to Bonnie Anderson.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You can see, do that. You can see it's actually working on my new block. The current blockchain it's only, the way blockchain works, I mean, I'm not gonna go into all that, but the way the mining difficulty works is you need to wait for a certain number of zeros at the beginning of the hash. And I made the difficulty of the mining process very, very easy right now while testing it, because I don't need to let that run for 5 minutes while you guys stare at it. So we can see here this new block was written. We can see the hash that was created, the previous hash, which is linked to the previous block, 013, 013 up there. We can see the nonce, which is basically the answer that created in the cryptography. And then we actually can see the transaction and how it's not just transferring cryptocurrency or transferring some type of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or anything. It's a type of transfer ownership of that car from Chris to Dr. Anderson. The idea would be to have this page. If you go to profile here, we'll be able to see user would be able to see their car, see their information about their car, and be able to then go into their car and say like add maintenance to it, let's say tire rotation, and be able to easily add this information and have some type of means of validating a vendor. So as people looking at the car online know that they're not just putting in BS results and actually are putting in results that actually occurred. So let's say the vendor was Tires RS, whatever. We submit that, we see it, adds it there, as well as adds it up here as well. And the idea would be to kind of port, this is kind of a rough proof of concept, but port some of the ideas that we're validating here into this actual space here for the user. So they could, see their car maybe in a similar way, like in a card, kind of see all their stats, and then be able to see all their maintenance history and have a means of updating that, as well as potential other users seeing their car in maybe a similar way, but some information is hidden, like VIN, stuff like that, that the other users don't need to see about the other car, and be able to view all the maintenance history as well. Okay. Get back to Chris for lessons learned.
Perfect. So, a lot of lessons learned. First of all, communication. So at the beginning of the semester, we set up a schedule where we'd have twice weekly stand-up meetings where we'd call and just sync up what we're working on. I went to Italy for a week during the semester, and we didn't do it that week. And after that, it got hard because we were out of the habit of doing that stand-up. And I think one thing for me personally, I learned that it's really hard. If you're not syncing up very regularly, it's hard to be motivated to, or it's hard to be held responsible for your work, and it's hard to work effectively. And then with this project specifically, we both opted to maybe learn more than we wanted to produce results, I guess. So like, rather than using an existing UI framework to build faster, I opted to build on my own. And that, ultimately led to less of a finished product because we had less time. And we should have seen that from the beginning. And then another thing for me personally is I get really bogged down in details when I'm working, especially on the front end. So it's hard to rise past the details and just look at the big picture, the business picture really, and then work like that. But I've seen that the most effective engineers are those that really have a business focus in what they're doing. So they're not just building things, they're building things that provide value. So that has been our biggest lessons learned. Do you have anything specific before we move on to?
Yeah, just talking about getting bogged down in the details. Definitely did that with the backend service. Like, probably spent way too much time like thinking about that. Like in reality, you should just try to go with it and not worry about it so much, just to get more stuff done. But so far, I've been really happy with moving to Firebase and having a serverless architecture, and it's, I think, the best decision moving forward for the MVP, looking forward towards validating this. And that brings us into our future plans. We want to finish integrating the REST API with Firebase for buying and selling a car. We had that previously with Node, but we want to get that done for the semester wrap up, just help be more finished product than what it currently is. We also want to continue validating the learning cycle with blockchain implementation. This one might not be by semester end, given it's a week away. But we want it. I think this one is where details is pretty important, finding an optimal solution to integrate with our MVP, and potentially just finding, like, using, okay, I built something in Python as a learning experience, but maybe now we should just look at putting on an existing chain that has more robustness and the infrastructure already there. And then also, last thing is just using this MVP that we've created, especially once we have the REST APIs integrated, as a means to continue validating this business idea and seeing whether or not we should move forward, what pivots we should continue to make technically or business wise.
Okay, tell me about your blockchain. So Remind me, last semester was a JavaScript that you had implemented the kind of a client side blockchain in, and so you moved it to Python on the back end. And how does that scale? Where do you kind of what's your architecture? You know, you kind of moved away from the Docker containers and Node, and so where is that Python going to reside, and how does it scale?
The Python would be on servers. It's actually currently being run locally in
Yeah,
Shell.
yeah, yeah.
But basically, it'd be kind of a similar thing where you would have. I mean, we didn't really explore Kubernetes much for the blockchain implementation, but that might be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
But basically, what you do is have your Python code running in a shell in multiple servers, and then just like how AWS has different regions, you probably want to have different nodes in different regions, have multiple nodes.
So what about like the shared ledger though? Where does the ledger itself reside?
On the server.
So unique copies or distinct copies with each one of these nodes that's doing the processing?
They get synced across.
Okay.
So there's actually, I wrote code to like actually sync between servers.
Okay.
And actually they check between themselves. So
Yeah.
I actually I spent a fair bit of time researching it and actually building out something that could be good. But like in terms of actually moving forward with this idea, it'd probably be best to use an existing blockchain.
Sure.
Because one person versus a whole army of people working on a network like IOTA with corporate resources and stuff. But it was definitely a very fascinating deep dive into how a blockchain really works.
Yeah.
And now I feel a lot more comfortable moving forward in the industry pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Like in 7 days.
So yeah, one of the challenges that at scale is as your ledger grows, keeping those in sync in a realistic way, or dividing off a chunk of that to be processed independently by maybe different nodes. So just kind of curious how you're thinking about that. Okay, great. Do you have questions, Bonnie? You don't have that questions.
Maybe a comment first. I thought it was impressive, although risky, right? Where you decided instead of using pieces that already exist, you're going to try to develop your own, because this is a good opportunity to try learning something on your own. And you're right that can waste a lot of time, but also when else are you going to have a chance to do that? So I think that was a bold decision, and if you are trying to get this done, like you just mentioned with blockchain, okay, so I played around with it and learned a bunch of stuff, but for the real deal, we'll probably want to use a more established or corporate supported version. So yeah, I think that was interesting, because most people, I just got to get this done and let's not reinvent the wheel. So and I did love how the UI turned out. I mean, that's kind of nice, but I thought right where this screen divided, a lot of people don't scroll to that next spot. They're only going to see the blue.
There's nothing to just tell you that there's something below there. Yeah,
that's true. You need like an arrow.
But
speaking really quickly of that, I kind of pictured this whole process as like we're two mice in a maze, and we were literally finding a ton of dead ends. That's what we spent a lot of time doing. But I think we found, especially with like Firebase, for example, and actually building out a blockchain in Python, I think we found some good, through the painful processes, we found good piece of information, a good experience for learning. So.
Well, and I'm thinking maybe this is just an academic exercise, and when the semester ends, you guys are done, because you're going to have real jobs and you're not going to have time to carry this on. But if you were to want to do that, I think it is really hard to build a peer-to-peer situation. You have to get people from both sides. Although in your case, compared to recruiters and students, they're totally different people. Buyers and sellers can be the same people at times, so that's a little bit easier. But if you really would like to see the nice blockchain of car ownership or maintenance and stuff, what I think would probably work best is to integrate with the KSL classifieds. Show them, here's how you can have a freemium, right? So it's already kind of a free thing. But if you want to prove to people that are maybe going to buy your car, that it's then you get this bonus blockchain. We'll add that in there. And again, I don't know quite how you could do it after the fact really. That's hard to just piecemeal add that in there, but that would be go to an established used car platform
Yeah.
and offer to integrate blockchain and get that kind of started.
Yeah.
It's a tricky problem though. I don't know how you
There's
get
some other
your users.
angles we thought about too, not just consumer to consumer, but business to business. There are a lot of companies that maintain large fleets of cars.
Or auction sites,
Or
right?
auction sites,
Like
so-
state fleets or something. That,
So that's a possible potential proving ground. Like, hey, this is some premium software. Just try it out, see if you enjoy it or if you save money or whatever the case is. And yeah, so there's other potential applications as well that we could try to explore and then move forward. But that's a good point. I'm looking at.
so I know sometimes when I've purchased used cars, I've gone to look for the title search, right, to see who else has owned this and would there be any issues with it. But that's just one little piece. They may have been lying about not getting in a wreck
That's
or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I am sorry I wasn't here earlier.
Are you going good?
Well, you're here to clap, and then they can fill you in. All right, thanks. We'll wrap it there.
Thank you.
So